Hello, and welcome to today's Remo 3 webinar on 5 key tips to migrating applications to Azure Virtual Desktop. I will be your speaker, Josh Travers, Field CTO here at Remo 3. Let's go ahead and get started. Many of you that joined today are either exploring Azure Virtual Desktop or somewhere on your journey to Azure Virtual Desktop. And the number one challenge when we look at applications and migrating those applications is really where to begin and how to get started. And out of that challenge, there's very common issues that we see across our customer base. The first being the manual human capital that is required. Traditionally speaking, applications require a lot of manual effort to migrate and to manage and maintain. This process and manual efforts can be slow, boring, as well as prone to errors. The other issue that is very common is when we start to look at end of life, and end of life either on certain Windows versions or application formats, or could be in hardware contracts or anything that involves within the data center. Missing those deadlines can be very costly and also puts you in a position to, be stuck with that legacy technology for an undesired amount of extra time. Also cost. We can quantify cost for really any of these issues, but once you start to unpack, again, the manual effort and all of the things that go into general application work, a lot of times it's unknown of, the testing, the time it takes to repackage, the time it takes to analyze the results, remediate, deploy, and then rinse and repeat. And specifically when you're dealing with applications of large application portfolios of large volumes, this increases exponentially. And then lastly, the slow time to value. When we start to adopt new technologies like Azure Virtual Desktop, we want to start to maximize that investment immediately. Worst case scenario is procuring licenses and then having that sit on the shelf until we can complete all of the work that is necessary to excel or complete the migration. So you came here today for tips, and what you'll see is these tips are aligned directly to those common issues to help you solve or avoid the challenge. And what you'll find throughout the course of this webinar is automation will be a consistent theme. So naturally, we'll start there as the first area. Automate everything you possibly can. So in terms of beginning or the where to start challenge, leveraging automation to collect data insights around your current application estate, understanding what is in the portfolio, where those applications are deployed to, and then of course, how they're interacting with the operating systems that you're supporting today. With that collection or leveraging automation, the collection of data, use that data, enrich that data to plan ahead. It is never too early to assess possible desired outcomes. So what we can do is, again, the collection of that automation data, we can start to then analyze that, make informed decisions of what the current application estate can do today. Moving along, there's always an opportunity to apply modern technology. Again, that's consistent with the application formats as well. Many of you may be managing, supporting legacy applications. There's always an opportunity to apply modern application formats, and whether that's Microsoft's MSIX technology to leverage app attach, whether that's a third-party virtualization solution. Those can maximize and optimize your overall management strategy, also your delivery mechanisms when you look to start to deliver Azure Virtual Desktops to your end users. And then, of course, the Windows operating systems as well. Azure Virtual Desktop exclusively offers multi-session capabilities where you can now reduce costs by, again, leveraging multiple users on that same host pool. And then if you layer in the additional application modern technologies on top of that, you're getting the best possible delivery mechanism that you can. And of course, the fourth tip is validate before deploying, right? Prevent that negative impact that will ultimately cause your business and your end users downtime. What you will notice out of all of these tips, the underlining theme is automation. So if you can apply automation to validation, you can start to validate on a continuous cycle. Therefore, you're avoiding any manual efforts, and you, again, are preventing from that negative impact downstream. And then lastly is to integrate with other IT functions that exist within that ecosystem. Some very common examples are modern management planes. When we're laser focused on applications, we're looking at moving those applications to Azure Virtual Desktop. There's modern application management planes we can leverage to that live and exist in that same ecosystem. It could also possibly be an Azure Virtual Desktop management plane, such as Nerdio, to help you administer and manage that infrastructure that the applications are being deployed onto. And then what we're seeing very commonly is integrating with the ITSM platforms of the world, automating as much as possible a new application request, an application update request, and getting tightly integrated with that service catalog so you're promoting a self-service for your end users. The alternative use case there as well is adopting a change enablement strategy, where we can start to apply DevOps methodologies to, again, traditional, static linear type approaches. And again, using automation, validating the applications for any change that may be proposed and introduced into the environment. After we've understood the 5 key tips, what I would like to do now is walk you through the Remo 3 automation platform. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Remo 3, Remo 3 is a software platform. It's native to Microsoft Azure. However, once you boil it down to its core competencies, it's a very robust automation and orchestration engine. And what it's automating and orchestrating are those key components in the application lifecycle. So when we start to look at applying automation to a migration to Azure Virtual Desktop, we always want to start at the current estate, and specifically speaking, the current application estate. Now, whether those applications reside in a management plane, such as SCCM, a file repository, it doesn't matter, for a lack of the better term. The first step on the Remo 3 journey is to identify where those applications live and exist today. Then we import those applications at scale into the Remo 3 platform. Now, I did mention that Remo 3 is native to Microsoft Azure. Remo 3's flexible deployment model allows the technology to be deployed into our customers' Microsoft Azure tenants. And what that does is it maintains compliancy, first and foremost, ensuring that no applications ever leave premise. What it also does is it allows us to be contextual relevant. And what I mean by that is, because we're deployed and operating within your 4 walls, you can start to now take advantage of your custom operating systems, your networking, line of sight to external sources, such as the management planes or databases or licensed servers, those artifacts that applications need to install and function. So we import those applications at scale directly into the platform, and this is where the unattended intelligent automation starts to initiate from Remo 3. During that import process, Remo 3 performs a discovery on every application, again, at scale. And that discovery process entails Remo 3 reverse engineering the application package to collect data insights or data constructs. Simply put, after the discovery process completes, Remo 3 is now aware of how that application installs to a Windows operating system and how it is intended to interact and function with that Windows operating system. And it stores that in a data profile for every application that you import into the platform. Once the discovery process is complete, what we then do is automatically progress the applications to the next phase, which is the baseline analysis phase. The baseline analysis phase, again, simply put, is Remo 3 understanding what good looks like. And how it does that is it uses your custom functional builds, the ones that are currently out there in production today that you're supporting for your end user base, and it takes the discovery data and executes that dynamically against your custom build. And the custom build is very important because this takes into consideration during the analysis things like security posture, policy enforcement, baseline Windows feature enablement. It's all of the configuration sets that makes the image your unique image. Again, it then takes that dynamic, or it takes the discovery information and executes it dynamically, effectively enriching that data profile that was created from the discovery process. And the end result is, again, training Remo 3 of what good looks like. And these 3 steps are absolutely vital, because what it does is it positions your entire application portfolio very strongly now to look to the future, and the future being that desired outcome of Azure Virtual Desktop. This is where we now use the flexibility of the automation platform to start to configure desired outcomes within the same automation pipeline. And I'm showing some examples here today, some very common examples. So when we start to look at, our AVD desired end state, what does that look like? Is it a Windows 11 specific build? Is it single session, multi-session? These are the types of configurations you want to implement within Remo 3 so that you can then have that, that environment to then analyze those applications against. There's also the capability of developing multiple outcomes. And I'll use this as an example. So most of you today, as I mentioned, are exploring or already on their journey to Azure Virtual Desktop. You already have a Windows version in mind, single session, multi-session. Well, what about the next version, the next update that's coming? It's a very common use case for us at Remo 3, and the platform is structured to support just that. So as I am migrating to my desired Windows 11 single session, multi-session, and virtual desktop, I can also still be continuously analyzing that next update that's going to come down the line. And what we do is we take the applications and we rinse and repeat the unattended intelligent automation against the desired AVD images. And it becomes pretty binary at this point, meaning it's either going to succeed or it's going to fail. Now, the value that Remo 3 and the automation brings is it's going to bring you to a result in the fraction of the time that you can do this, comparatively speaking. And as we discussed before, comparatively speaking, most commonly is manual human effort. So again, that result is either success or failure. Now, success is fantastic. We can take those applications and accelerate those to the next phase in our application lifecycle process. Now, the ones that error, we can bring that error to the forefront proactively during the migration phases, and then start to use that error information to make informed decisions on how to proceed with those applications. Can we remediate the application? Who's responsible for that? Do we need to retire the application, contact the third party to inquire about updates, and so forth? So again, the value of the automation is returning that result very quickly, very early on within that process. Now, you might have noticed also this third box, which is labeled app modernization. Inside of the same automation pipeline, Remo 3 provides the ability to modernize your application estate, your existing application estate. And we do support a series of third-party vendors, Microsoft MSIX specifically for App Attach. But how this process works, it's very similar to the automatic validation that we talked about against the AVD images. And what we do is we approach it in a multi-phased approach. And that first phase is, let's perform an assessment on our existing application estate, meaning what applications are good candidates for the likes of Microsoft's MSIX technology. The value here is that we're leveraging the automation. The only alternative way to assess your applications is to manually go in and try to convert them. So leveraging the automation, Remo 3 can provide an assessment to provide those data-driven results on, again, a successful candidacy. Then, based off of the successful candidacy, what Remo 3 can do is automatically package or convert those applications into your chosen modern format. Now, that's only half the battle, is getting the applications converted into a modern format. What Remo 3 then does is it executes a post-conversion validation on any of those applications that you're successfully able to modernize, meaning that step one, we assess it. The data tells us it's a good candidate. Step two, we package it, get it into that modern format. Then step three, what we do is we take that modern format and we validate it against those custom Azure Virtual Desktop images to, again, confirm not only can we modernize the application, but that application is going to function and deploy as we expected it to within our new modern AVD environment. Then the last part is, after we've done the validation, we've modernized what we could out of our application portfolio. Then what we're able to do is we're able to export those applications into modern management planes in order to be deployed and managed out into your Azure virtual environment. Again, whether that's an AVD management plane such as Nerdio, a native Microsoft management plane such as Intune or Windows Package Manager, these are all out-of-the-box integrations. If there is a management plane that is not listed here, I will note that Remo 3 is an API first dev shop, meaning the development practice is all of the feature functionality. It has a supported API call. Therefore, it makes that extensibility of the platform even greater because we're able to leverage the modern framework of APIs. Now, we talked about importing, discovering, and baselining the applications, and then validating those against the target desired Azure Virtual Desktop operating systems. Now, I will note that the import, discovery, and baseline is a one-time only exercise. So once you've invested that initial effort, you have the intelligence now under management within the Remo 3 platform. So now, if we look at the third box, the Windows upgrade, this is what empowers us and enables us to promote that continuous testing or continuous validation methodology, is because your operating systems, your AVD environment, it will change over time. Whether that's an internal update or a Microsoft update, Remo 3 provides that platform, provides the automation in order to perform the analysis again very quickly to make those informed decisions, and then again to promote that change enablement methodology, versus traditional change management methodologies. Now, the last thing that I will cover in terms of the automation pipeline is everything we've talked up into this point, as I mentioned, is unattended automation, meaning no human interaction. We configure the platform one time, and then we execute the unattended automation. Now, what Remo 3 also offers in the category of validation is it provides facilitated user acceptance testing workflows. Because, as I mentioned, it is a automation and orchestration engine, and we are automating and orchestrating the provisioning of the AVD environments, the installation, the testing of the applications. What we've done is we've introduced facilitated user acceptance testing workflows directly in the same platform. And the reason why is because automation is fantastic and we want to apply it to every single use case we can. But unfortunately, it's not a one size fits all. There are still use cases, scenarios that only a human and only that manual effort can achieve. So what we're able to do now is we're able to automate the provisioning of those AVD environments. We're able to automate the deployment of those applications directly to the AVD environments, and then facilitate the connection of those end users to those AVD environments so they can log in to their systems and perform those tests that only a human can perform. And that may be logging in with their credentials, querying a database, and expecting certain results to come back and verifying that. Now, the value is twofold here. It's not only the orchestration and the efficient workflow to provision those environments, but Remo 3 is also capturing an audit trail of the user acceptance testing as well. And it's capturing that through innovative methods such as on-demand video playback, metadata captured fields, and we'll take a look at that momentarily in the actual platform. So what you end up with once you start to implement the Remo 3 automated process is you start to now evolve and adopt a CI/CD app management process. And I say adopt because traditionally the Windows application management process has been somewhat linear. If you take into consideration all of those steps now we're able to automate on a continual basis, you can start to be very agile with your application portfolios, meaning getting application releases out to the end users quicker. And then equally as important, applying or patching the operating systems quicker without compromising availability or vulnerability by, again, leveraging that automation to produce those results. What I will do now is transition over to the Remo 3 platform. And here, what you're looking at are the results of an Azure Virtual Desktop migration. What you can see from the screen here, navigationally speaking, is in my environment, I was on-premise Windows 10, and I migrated to Windows 11 with a mix, a hybrid of multi-session and single session. Now, what you'll see here is all of the different applications that I have in scope and the state view of types of results. So after that automated analysis, which included that discovery, the baseline, and then the future state analysis, as well as application modernization assessments, I can have a very clear picture as a result of the automation of what my current estate looks like. And as mentioned before, there's a tremendous amount of data that we want to consider and take into account here. For one, having the intelligence or the data constructs of each and every application to know what the entry points are, how they are installed, what the metadata associated with the package is, again, overall, how it's interacting with that Windows operating system. Then after I've uncovered that data, then what I want to be able to do is, as I mentioned, execute that data. And that's what we're looking at here. Is exactly that. This is a window into the Remo 3 automation where, completely unattended, we're able to provision the AVD modern environment based off of our custom operating system. We're able to install the application, validate that it can deploy into the Azure Virtual Desktop environment. And then what we're able to do is dynamically start to validate and test the application. And this truly makes Remo 3 approach this dynamically. What I mean by that is that each application automatically generates its own test case due to that discovery process. There's no scripting or assumptions being made on any of these applications. So as you can see, I can start to gather key data insights around how these applications are deploying and performing within my environments. As I mentioned before, multi-session exclusively available to Azure Virtual Desktop. We can include that in terms of our automation testing, and then of course include our modern application format as well to complete the entire picture. Now, as mentioned before, and I will leave you with this, is that once you complete the migration, right, using my automation, hopefully, if not, how do you support that Azure Virtual Desktop environment? How do you maintain that on a regular basis, both for net new application requests, as well as proposed changes to the operating system? As I mentioned before, within Remo 3, once you've gathered that initial intelligence, you're now only a couple clicks away. New applications being introduced or proposed into the environment is the more simpler of the two change use cases, because one, we can integrate with our ITSM platforms and automate that, validate the applications, and then export those applications into the modern management planes. Now, the more frequent rate of change is on the operating system itself. And within Remo 3, because we've gathered that intelligence, we're only a couple clicks away. So when that new change is ready to be proposed, we can now simply point Remo 3 towards that change, go ahead, submit that change, and have it rinse and repeat its automated analysis. That concludes all of the time that we have today. I would like to leave all of you with a call to action. If this was of interest to you, the Remo 3 website has some great resources. It's also the mechanism to contact or connect with the Remo 3 team. So we hope to hear from you, and thank you again for attending.